guys, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to the first one of 2019. Now, over the last couple of years I have shown you my journey of ownership with my own 4th generation MX-5, but of course this is not the car, because what better way to start off 2019 than with the new and improved 2019 Mazda MX-5. So in this video we're going to be talking about everything that has changed on the car. Now of course looks wise nothing much has changed, but there have been a few tweaks under the hood, so we're going to run over all of them and then I'm going to tell you how they changed the driving characteristics of the driving aspect of the car. So first of all, we're going to start at the front and work our way to the back. So let's open the hood. So the biggest change to the 2019 car is of course under the hood, because Mazda have put some more ponies in the engine. Now, as of course looks wise it may very much deceive you, because looks wise it looks exactly the same as the previous models, but trust me, the whole inside of the engine has been gone through, because actually only the block should be the same. You have new pistons, valves, camshaft, the whole 9 yards. And this means that this naturally aspirated engine goes from 155 horsepower to over 180, which is a pretty remarkable feat, if you ask me, for just a 2-liter normally aspirated engine. Now this isn't the only thing that Mazda changed, because they revamped this engine. They also changed the rev limiter to 7,000 RPM, which when you're driving is actually the biggest change you will feel in this car, because the engine would just keep going and keep going and keep going. So then we come to the inside of the car. Now the main interior layout has all stayed the same and I still really like it, but there have been a few tweaks in this area. Now the biggest one has to do with the steering. Now in the 2016-2018 models you could go down or up with your steering wheel depending on how high you were sitting, but taller people still needed some reachability to really fit well inside of the car. So Mazda has heard their prayers and did something about it, because now you have 3 centimeters of play towards you or away from you to make yourself more comfortable in the car. So taller people, the MX-5 is now open for business for you. So the steering wheel is the main change in the interior, but there have been some minor tweaks. For example, the mechanism for the cup holders has been changed to be easier to use, because in the 2016 model sometimes you really needed to yank your cup holder out and you were really scared to break something. So now they changed that and it works a lot better. Also, something that I haven't really read about anywhere, but I have seen, is that the sun visors are now a lot bigger and a lot better quality. They still do not swivel to the side, but yeah, it's a convertible roof, it wouldn't work that well. So also they are a bit larger, so they are better at blocking out the sun than 2016 models did. So that's very welcome. Also, for the people with very early cars, now Mazda has upgraded the instrument cluster with the color screen, which came with the RF models. Now before, the MX-5 model only came with like a black and white LCD screen, which just gave you minor info. So it's really cool to see that that update from the RF has made it to the soft top as well in the 2019 cars. And then of course for the interior, last but not least, the sat-nav system is still the same Mazda Connect system, but now these cars can all be fitted with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which in my opinion is a very welcome addition to this car. And I have it on my own 2016 car, it works really well and I actually use it all the time. So the next change is one that I really do not understand. Now from 2016-2018 there was no factory option to have a rear view camera, but Mazda came out later with an accessory which you could have had installed, which is an OEM Mazda rear view camera, which mounted in between your 2 license plate lights right under here. Now for 2019 Mazda somehow said that that was too clean looking, and they went ahead and just put it right dab in the middle of the rear bumper, which I think is a really weird choice, because I do not like this look. It's not that it's hidden or something, it's right there. So This is just weird. So if, in my opinion, you have the choice to not go for the rear view camera, maybe don't. Maybe try and get the one that's mounted lower down. But yeah, 2019 Mazda, rear view camera in the middle of the bumper. And then last but not least, one of the major changes that Mazda has done is to the exhaust pipes. Now actually the pipes still look the same, but the internals of the rear muffler have been changed to give it a more throaty sound. So I'll input a few sound clips here of the car while it's cold, hot and accelerating. So you'll be the judge if you like the sound of the car. So then now for the driving part of this review. So this car that I have in my hands here today is a 2-liter MX-5 2019 model with a 6-speed manual in ceramic white. And I gotta say, huge thanks to Mazda Belgium for actually lending me this car for the week to test out. And I have to say, during the week I have been dealing this car just to see what it would be like, and I have to say I'm actually pretty much impressed. So the spec of this car is actually, it is a full option car. So it has full infotainment system, full Bose sound system, it has every bells and whistle in terms of assistance systems, which I will talk about in a bit. And yeah, it's just everything you can have without the extras like the aero kit, exhaust, sports exhaust, Alcantara, which are actually all extras packages which you do not need to get a very fun car. So sounds pretty good for a stock exhaust actually. So this car is the 180 horsepower version. It has the new engine, it also has a new flywheel, dual mass one, and it has the new exhaust. Now I have to say, this car really drives pretty nicely. And I even have to say, my first impression of this was, after driving my D for a few years, is that this car is actually a bit softer in the engagement of the clutch. Now it's not that the clutch doesn't grab. If you drive sporty, it still will grab and you can still go through all the gears very fast. But it's more like it's softer, like my girlfriend, when she drives passengers, sometimes can say that the ride is a bit jerky. Now with this car, the car is like a bit smoother in the transition between gears, which makes it a much more pleasant experience to drive as a on a daily basis. Now suspension wise, this car is still the same. So it's still a pretty soft suspension. It's not rough or anything. You do feel everything that happens in the road, but the car will still roll quite a lot. And in my review of the soft top and the RF I did a few years ago, I said that the RF had a bit of a stiffer suspension and I really loved that way of driving. And I have to say, I don't really think that new suspension setup has been applied to this car. So it's still it's still a soft suspension, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it drives perfectly. You can still drive it very sporty and just don't lose the feeling of the car. But what you do get sometimes is when you're going fast and the road underneath you is a bit rougher, you can have the feeling that the car just wants to, that the car would start floating and you don't really have it in your hands. That's something that I have found, but on a daily basis, this is actually just a really fun car to drive. And I say on a daily basis, you do need to take into account that this is only a two-seater car with a very small trunk. But the trunk is 130 liters like it was in the previous models, and it still is adequate for just daily grocery shopping and such. So on that hand, the car can be used as a daily. Now, this is the sports car, it isn't a station wagon, don't ask it to be one, it's a fun car. That was its main purpose, to be a fun sports car, two-seater convertible even. Talking about the convertible roof, it hasn't changed. It's still one of the quickest, if not the quickest manual roof you will find anywhere. So that means you can actually enjoy the nice weather until you feel the first drop of rain. I've said this in countless of my videos, but I really love the mechanism of this top. And if anybody says to you like, oh, but mine is automatic and automatic is more luxurious, yeah, then you say to them, but when your roof is down, then I'm already at like the next state or city or whatever. Because yours is this manual top, there's just no automatic one that can rival it. And one of the quickest ones actually that is automatic is the RF model of the Mazda MX-5. So yeah, manual soft top, best there is. Now it's time for a downshift brake. 5,000, let's go. That's actually the most you will feel about this engine. Now, somebody sent me a question and asked me, how is the torque feel between the new 2019 engine and the 16 engine? Now, I have to say, low down, the torque hasn't changed much, and it's not actually the power. You would think the power difference would be more noticeable, and in my opinion, my butt dyno doesn't really tell me that this car would have 20 more horsepower. But I think where this increase lies is in the extra rev range that you have with this car. Because it is an NA car, it will just keep giving it more power the higher it goes in the rev range. And I have to say now, the difference between the previous car, which stopped at about 6,000 and something RPM, and this one who goes over just a hair over 7,000, it makes that this car, it just doesn't stop revving, and it's just such a crazy feeling. Like in the beginning when I was driving this car, I had the feeling like, okay, I need to stop now because I'm gonna need to shift now because the engine will, and then I look down and I see like, oh, I'm only at 5,500 RPM. Okay, then we'll keep going. And it's just such a cool feeling to know that this engine revs so freaking high. It's really, really amazing. So then I talked a bit about monitoring systems. So this car has a few new ones. So for people who do not know, the MX-5 came standard with blind spot monitoring, which were like lights and mirrors. It came with lane keeping assist, which will actually just, it was more like a lane warning assist, because it will like simulate a rumble strip to the left or to the right of your stereo speakers to give you an indication that you are actually leaving the lane. And now with the color display, it will actually show which side you are like getting out of the lane, so you can steer yourself back into it. But the car will not, it will not steer you into it itself. But now the car comes with a few new systems, and the first one is brake assist, so which will actually help you, like if you're driving and you're like, yeah, I don't know, you see a nice girl pass or something, or for the ladies you see a nice man, and you were like distracted for a few seconds, and the car in front of you slams on it, wants to slam on its brake, then the car will prompt you like you have to brake, and it will start the first braking maneuver. Now because it's a manual, the car will normally not bring you to a full stop, but it will prompt you so hard that you will just panic and slam on the brakes anyway. So that's actually a good thing, and I have found the system to be very reactive, and you can actually change that in the settings if you want it to be earlier or later with its warnings. So then after that we also have one more system, which is actually a kind of an upkeep system for yourself, because it will just keep in track if you might be getting a bit tired or something like that, or you have been driving for a long time. It will prompt you to say like, hey dude, maybe it's time to take a break and get a coffee or something, because I'm seeing you getting you're getting tired. Now some people find these systems annoying, but I have to say they're not half as annoying as they are helpful, and some drivers just don't know when to take a break, and then it's something like that is just a nice reminder, like, hey, just do this. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for other people on the roads. So driving wise, what's my verdict on this car? Now for one, the 180 horsepower is, yeah, I don't really feel much of a difference. The car does have a lot of power though, but it's not that it's that much more that you really say like, okay, this is, whoa, I totally feel the difference. No, the power isn't actually that noticeable, but what is noticeable is, of course, that high rev counter, that very high rev limit. And I think that is more the thing that people will find the most pleasing about this car. That is that rev limiter. Now, does the car have a 180 horsepower? Yes, it does. And does it haul a lot of speed when you push that accelerator? Yes, it does. Is the gear shift still amazing? Yes. And I even have to say, like, I know a lot of people, some people may know this already, but earlier MX-5 could have had issues with the transmissions. And I have to say, this transmission, I think it has been revised because it's a lot smoother to get into the gear. It's still notchy and fun to do, and it's still a very pleasant experience. But there has been some tweak, I can tell. But so the gear shift is amazing. The engine revs really high, is really fun. The rear diff is still the same. So the exhaust makes some noise. The stock exhaust is not the loudest thing in the world, so maybe if you want a bit more sound, you can go for the optional Boston exhaust like I did. That makes the car a bit more lively and gives it a bit more of a deeper growl at the low RPM, and just, yeah, makes it sound really good for the stock OEM sports exhaust. The driving, so the suspension is still a bit soft, but if you want to use it for a daily or for a GT, the suspension is more than good enough. The car handles amazingly, and you can easily go over a rougher road and the car would just still handle really well without you having been, yeah, for one, shaken through your own bones, but it will just keep you confident that the car is doing what it can. Even through these winter months, because this is January, so this is the end of winter here in Belgium. It's very cold, the car's on winter tires, and I have been driving through rain actually all week. This is the first dry day that I have, and I have to say I'm really excited, I'm really impressed with the car, and I'm still very glad that I'm an MX-5 owner. Now let's talk fuel consumption, because that's something that's really important in today's market, because the fuel prices, yeah, they're just going up. So how is this car on fuel? Now, because it is naturally aspirated, it really is not that bad on fuel. Now, for example, if you were to take this car and just cruise around, not go above like 3,500 RPM, just drive normally, you can get the car at between the 6 and the 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers. And if you are to drive like me, which is drive normally on the highway, but just drive a bit more spiritedly, overtake someone once in a while, just go into the RPMs a few times every time you drive it, then you will have the car at around 7 to 8 liters per 100 kilometers. So now I've done about 640 kilometers in the car, which is commuting to work, which is going on a back road and having some fun, and which is doing a lot of highway in some instances. So I've evened it out. I've used the car for everything you can use it, for daily commute or for fun, and I've been averaging on those 600 kilometers, I've had an average now in the trip computer of around 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Now, in comparison to my own car, which is the 2016 model, this is actually pretty much the same. So guys, so now we are back at home base, and now the question remains, what do I think of the 2019 MX-5? Now, I actually think it's an update to an already very awesome platform. Now, the car still drives the same, it's still so much fun to drive. The extra high red line, so the 1000 RPM that you have extra, is really fun to play with. The new steering column makes it so that more people can fit in it. So the MX-5 really lives up to the name of being the people's sports car, in my opinion. It's easy to drive, you can have a lot of fun with it, you can have the wind in your hair if the weather allows it. So it's a really good fun two-seat roadster. So if you are looking for a fun weekend toy to drive around in, look no further than this. If you want a daily that has 2 seats and enough trunk, to carry around your daily groceries, then this car can also suffice. So I have to say, it's a really good car, and like I've said in previous videos, it's a platform. You can do a lot of things with this car. What, do you want to go to the track? Okay, there's a load of aftermarket parts that you can put on it to make it more track worthy. Or do you want to just have a GT car to cruise around it and maybe put on a luggage rack and get road tripping? So in my opinion, the 2019 MX-5 is just that continuation of the MX-5 legacy, and the updates are really nice. But of course, there are a few of you on this channel who already have an ND and are burning with the question, do I need to sell my car to get the new one? In my opinion, I would say no. Now, the extra power is fun to play with, the extra RPMs are fun, but it's not that the power is that much different than what you have in a 2016 car with a 2-liter engine. So in my opinion, keep your 2016 if you want, but maybe if you're a taller person and you want to fit better in your car, or you have issues with that, then maybe you can look at the 2019. But all the other options like rear view cameras, Android Auto, and different exhausts, that's something that you can also do to your 2016 and get the same result. So in the end, for the power, no. If you're taller and you want to fit better, then maybe have a look at the 2019. So that's all I got time for this week, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you maybe learned something. If you have any questions about the car, just drop it in the comments below and I will answer your questions with the best of my ability. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.